Welcome to a comparison between the Fisker Ocean Extreme and the Fisker Ocean Sport, which is the most feature-rich version of the Ocean you can get retail right now, and the lowest cost option. This is not complete or comprehensive in any way. Tony and I spent the day together learning about the differences between our two vehicles. In fact, Tony has many insights I want to include in upcoming videos because they are more relevant there. This is simply a day in the life of two Ocean owners enjoying the opportunity to compare and contrast the differences between each vehicle in person. Please let us know what we missed in the comments below and subscribe, and I'll cover those missing elements in upcoming videos. There are a lot of things on the Extreme that are not available on the Sport, and in order to kind of justify and explain why this is a really good option, I brought Tony. Tony is from the Philadelphia area, and he went with the Extreme. Well, let's just ask Tony, what made you go with the Extreme trim? I know you said you were an Ultra guy first.
Exactly. So I actually started with the Ultra, and what ended up happening was there was a discount around Labor Day, I think.
Okay.
And I decided to go with the Extreme because it ended up being $2,000 at the time for me cheaper.
Right. Okay.
Then there was that deeper discount later on. For me, it made sense looking at everything that I got, and hopefully eventually we'll see that solar come in with 2.0, and everything else has been great. Do I have the software issues? Yes. I mean, everybody's got them.
Sure.
I knew what I was getting into, but the drive, my wife loves the drive. She says it's very comfortable. Driving down here, I was 3 hours at a stretch. I wouldn't normally do that. About an hour and a half in, I'd be like, okay, where do I need to stop and to stretch? I got to Bedford,
yeah.
And I was able to get to the charging station, stop.
So was that your first road trip?
First EV, first road trip.
Okay.
I have some footage that I'll share with you. You can share with the community.
Great.
Started at 38, was a little worried, but then I remembered that it's supposed to ramp up, and you reminded me that. And it went to 112 when I talked to you the last time, but when I looked at the charging data, it said it went to 131 peak.
It's all about the curve, and the curve is all about the temperature. So until you get that battery at that optimal temperature, until it's about 70 Fahrenheit, talk to me about navigation.
So that was interesting. So driving out here, it initially picked Bedford. Like, cool, I know where I'm going.
And that was your only charge stop recommended?
That was the only charge stop recommended. So you're talking 300 and some miles. I'm driving, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to reroute you for another charger because I can't find it, which was kind of weird.
Okay.
Not it being my first EV, the TomTom system, I'm just not a big fan of it.
I completely understand.
I come from CarPlay and Android Auto and other systems.
I feel the same way about the TomTom system.
I have several contacts that are newer addresses, and it shows up fine if I go to either Waze, Google Maps, Apple Maps, the new address shows up. However, in the TomTom, it does not. That is the wrong address.
Okay.
That's the old address that they moved from.
Now that you've made a stop on an EV road trip, talk about the level of inconvenience. Do you feel like that amount of time was too much, or does it need improvement? How do you feel about that?
So instead of going to 80, I know at 80 you start to really ramp down, and I understand that.
Sure.
But I decided, let me get to 85 just in case, because I don't know what's going to be around, because
there isn't anything.
As you forewarned me.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I took it up to 85. It took 48 minutes to do that.
Okay.
Which isn't bad.
So that's what, 25 to 85 around?
I think it was around 34 is
Okay.
what I pulled in with. I was stopping for dinner, and that works out. And that's where I would personally go try to do that around those dinner times or lunch times, whatever it is.
Okay.
Because that makes the most sense, because, okay, I'm going to charge, I'll let it sit, right?
So now we're talking about the planning part of route planning, right?
Right.
In a gas car, it's not a planning. It's just you go, you decide. It's 6 o'clock. Well, the next gas station is where I'm going to stop. I'll tell you my strategy when I road trip. We are a multiple stop. So it says you stop once. We'll stop 5 times. We do 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Now, I sacrifice peak charging speed because I never get under like 40, 50%. So that low in the pack, warmed up, I'm going to accept the maximum speed, just never happens. But the trade-off there is that it's just an hour, and then you stop, and then an hour, and then you stop. But speaking of stopping, you had an experience with the rotating screen I definitely want to talk about.
Yeah.
So tell me about your experience streaming video.
So overall, it's pretty decent, you know, going into Hollywood mode. There's been a few glitches where it will go black screen and it won't come on for like 5 minutes.
Okay.
But it's far and few between. I think that's just recent.
They all, the Tesla has that. They all have that.
So that aside, I'll be sitting there, whether it's with his charging at the EV Go or waiting for my lovely wife at a shopping excursion.
Okay.
She was going to be more than 30 minutes. And I'm sitting there, and at the 30-minute mark, and it happened to me this morning, the screen automatically rotated back and shut off the streaming.
And have you noticed it is just like it's almost like a 30-minute timer?
Oh, it's 4 times.
Okay. All right.
I've noticed that 4 times.
So that's something that Fisker, that's an area of improvement we definitely want to look into.
Yeah. I mean, the only time that it should do that is if you're at, like, say, at 10% state of charge or 15% state of charge. And then in between, maybe at that 30-minute mark, like you and I talked about off camera, hey, I'm going to turn this off. Are you still watching? Yes. And then you can continue to watch.
It gives you a chance.
Gives you an option.
And also, that's another opportunity for improvement, let's call it, is maybe the vehicle can notify you as to why. Like, hey, 12-volt battery, you know, maybe, hey, drive your Ocean before you do more streaming, or, this is just a default. Would you like to change the default?
Yeah.
So if we had more information as to why it's occurring, I just feel like it'd be less frustrating. Instead of just saying, hey, I'm right in the middle of this movie, we're right at the peak of the action, and right back.
And one thing that I'm probably going to end up reporting was, the screen rotated and it stopped.
And halfway?
Right.
Okay, so you're at like 45-degree angle.
Roughly 45.
Now, was that on your current software?
Yes, on 1.11.
Okay. This is really great insights. And the reason I brought Tony down here, first of all, he wanted to make the drive, and I can't thank you enough. I appreciate it. What is this color called?
So it's officially seagrass.
Seagrass. I didn't want to get it wrong. Sea salt is the interior.
Correct.
He got me yesterday. I called it sea salt. I absolutely love this color. Tell me how you came to the decision to get this one.
So I was originally big Cerbero, as we talked about. Basically, I found out that matte finish,
it's an accelerated level of care.
Yes. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go with Mariana, the one it's sister colored.
Okay.
Because it's not matte.
Yeah.
Showed it to my wife and my daughter. And I'm like, I'm thinking about this, but here's the other colors. They're like, well, we like this one. And I'm like, okay. So I let the bosses in my life actually help me. And I love it. I actually had a Tesla person come up to me and say, oh my gosh, I've been waiting to see one of these in the wild. I love the color. I love the interior.
Let's talk about that, because when I get in my Model Y, there are things that I really appreciate. When I get out and I get in the Ocean, there are things I get excited about. And I feel like that is where I'm at as far as emotion. I appreciate the Model Y, but I get excited about the Ocean. What are some of the things that really excite you?
Well, I mean, one of the things that was interesting is early on in the Instagram, I don't know if you saw, they were taking quotes from different
Yes.
about it's got a permanent stance, that big, like it's here to do something.
Yeah.
That was actually my comment. So it was interesting that they took that, but
That's great.
More importantly, and the reason I bring that up is that's the first thing that I noticed was the stance of this thing.
Okay.
It doesn't say I'm an EV. It doesn't say, I'm super futuristic. Yet there's a little bit of that built into it, right?
Okay.
It's kind of that cool car that's, I could drive around and feel kind of fun driving.
Now, there's a trope that it's a Range Rover lookalike. Do you buy into that?
Well, we have a Velar in our neighborhood.
Okay.
And I looked at it, and it does look, there is similarity to it.
Okay.
But we're talking about the guy that designed the Z8, the James Bond car.
Yeah.
Right? So, and a couple of others.
Yeah.
He's got a keen eye for design. We had 5, maybe 6 Teslas that I knew about in our neighborhood. The moment he dropped the price, there were 20 more.
Sure.
And I'm not lying. They're literally 20. and there was one Mustang Mach-E.
Okay.
I'm like, well, I'm gonna be the different guy on the block, and I get asked about it in the neighborhood, which is cool. And, it's a fun thing to talk about. It's a fun car to drive.
Did the high range of 360 miles, was that a selling point for you? Did you feel more comfortable having that extra range?
I did. My daughter's going to be going off to college. Am I going to be going travel in 6 hours? I want to be able to get some range and not feel that anxiety. And
I think it's really impressive for you to take a trip from Philadelphia to here with one stop.
Yeah.
Because
I purposely did that.
So you could experience that.
I wanted to see how far could I take it.
Well, I think it's a really good opportunity to point out that this is the longest range in the class.
Right.
You've now been to an EV desert. Tell me about how you feel about EV infrastructure. Where are the room for improvement? Is it good enough now to get an EV? And what would you recommend for somebody who's shopping between this and a gas car?
Well, I think the first thing is you got to look at what is your price range, right? What is the mileage you're looking to get?
Okay.
Because with your daily commute is that really does determine whether or not
The use case.
your use case. Are you going to be using it for mostly around town, or are you looking to take this road trip there? So you have to kind of look at that. I turned on a video. What's the best coming out in 2023? It said a couple of others that were on my spreadsheet. I had a spreadsheet.
Okay, that's good.
I'll send that to you because that's kind of funny.
Research.
But it's like Fisker Ocean. I'm like, oh, I like that. And again, it goes to that stance, that look, right? That was the first thing that drew me in.
Sure. I think there is an emotional connection between a person and a car. And, the minimalist design of the Tesla. Now, the driving experience of the Tesla, especially on the highway, is kind of it's really hard to beat.
Yeah.
But the experience of being able to pull up somewhere and somebody say, I love that color, and then you get a chance to kind of exhibit this decision you've made. Talk to me about this material.
The Black Abyss Plus, I believe it's called.
Yes, and this is standard, right?
Standard for the Extreme, and I like it. For me, I can't do the white. I can't do the sea salt. I'm just my daughter. She'd have it dirty in a minute. I like the racing stripe.
By the way, the Extreme has the same Alcantara as the Sport in this area and in this area here. Ocean One people, help me out. Do you guys have this Alcantara? Let me know in the comments. Let's do a stereo comparison, shall we?
Sure.
So let's just find, 80s hits. That's great. So let's find something that has a really nice, Billie Jean, Michael Jackson. We can do that. So we're going to play Billie Jean, and I'm going to turn it up until it kind of starts to feel like this is too loud. The roof is closed, the windows are closed, but we're going to find a good volume setting, and Tony and I will come to an agreement there. We'll figure this out. So all right, we're back. We've decided that 20 is the loudest that this should be. And actually, I think Tony and I were really kind of happy with 17. He said my daughter's not allowed to turn it up this loud setting. All right, I'm starting Billie Jean. I want you to note, Tony, we're already at volume 18. And I think you already got an idea of how different that is. So I guess for posterity here, we should put mine on default also. All right, so now we're default. In my opinion, 17 in the Extreme is equal to 39 in the Sport. How do you concur? Okay.
When you had it on 18 and you turned it on initially, I was like, that's not very loud.
I feel like there's a clarity coming out in the Extreme that just you're not getting here. I believe you're working with 16 speakers and a subwoofer, and I have a total of 8 with no subwoofer. While we're at it, I did look it up. It is a tinted glass, but take a look up top, Tony, and tell me what you think about this glass. You have a beautiful functional sunroof that also opens, and I have just this single piece of glass front to back. It does not open.
I came from a Honda. I just like having the moonroof or the sunroof or something like that.
Something that opens.
It didn't have to be necessarily California mode's cool. It's cool.
The California mode is a proper function that adds, I would say, a very large amount of appeal. This adds to the quietness when it comes to road noise. I don't think it's significant, but if you're looking for a silver lining in the Sport when it comes to the roof, I guess that would be it.
What I thought was well engineered is what's going to happen next if I can get it to do it. So I'm going to open this trunk, and you're probably like, well, wait a minute, that's open. You're going to hit it. See if I'll do it.
It readjusts itself so that it won't hit,
So you have full functionality even in California mode.
even in California mode. And if I press it and I hold it, whoop, and I go down. So now there is a little bit of a split second between. It's like, okay, you guys are closed. Let me come back. Very interesting.
You have a plate.
I do.
So talk to me about that.
I was relentless in making sure that I talked to somebody in their title department via email and went through the process. It took me, 3 months, and I was able to get a plate.
So you were able to get, before it expired, before your first temp expired, you were able to get a real plate.
I was.
Real briefly, if you could make a recommendation to somebody who doesn't or is running out of time on their temp plate, what recommendation would you make as far as contact?
The only way you're going to get there is if you email them relentlessly.
Okay.
And say, I'm going to run out. Please send me another one.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to ask about where your title registration process is either. Because I probably did it every 3-4 days.
I want to talk to you about wheels.
Sure. These are the F3Bs.
Was this an extra on the Extreme, or did
It was. I was going between this and I think it's the F3A. I like the just that 3-spoke look, and I like that it was recycled.
Right, yeah, the inserts.
Yeah.
Now that you have them in front of you.
Yeah.
Honest opinion. Tell me how you feel about these.
I looked at those on picture and I'm like, not really. But they look cool, and it depends. It looks really nice with the white, but they're not my stuff, right? I've seen them without the cover on them. They look okay without the covers.
Okay.
I think a couple people have done that.
What I've noticed is ride quality suffers almost zero between this and this. I'm not seeing any ride quality difference. You have a limited shopping experience when it comes to the tires.
Correct.
So right now, the Bridgestone Alenza is almost one of your only options. I'll put it on the screen. I'll do some research. It's a 255, 45, 22. And then you also have to make sure that you have the weight rating correct because it's an EV. And that makes this specific spec tough to shop for.
Yeah.
This one would be tough to shop for, but it's very close to what the upgraded wheel on a Model Y is. And so there's a lot of EV tires. And I don't know if here's a little Easter egg. It actually has the stock ticker right on the wheel. You get FSR.
Yeah.
255 50 R20. This is an extremely nice looking wheel. And what I really like about these is this stretch. This actually goes beyond the middle of the wheel.
Yeah.
And it creates an illusion of being even bigger than it is, even though it already is a 22.
And you would think, okay, 22-inch wheel is like sitting up on it. No.
I also think you have a unique perspective owning the Buick Envision, because that's a really popular GM platform. Talk about the difference in ride quality between this and that.
Night and day. Yeah, I mean, I think this rides nicer. This is a very comfortable riding car, more so than any gas vehicle I've been in. My wife, coming from the Buick, says it's a very comfortable ride. She was asked about it. Well, how do you like the ride? And she's like, it's very comfortable. So there's two things that I can do right in here. It's like an auto. I hit this button here.
Yeah, go ahead.
And watch. Now,
right.
they don't fold all the way in. I've heard that comment, but it's okay. It works for my garage. Push it again, goes out. Now, the other thing I can do, if I put auto fold on, so if I lock it,
Okay.
they auto fold.
And there they go. And remember, this Ford doesn't fold at all.
Right.
There is no folding.
That is one of the features that I personally wanted. I kind of like that because going into my garage, well, it says it's a 2-car garage. It's really a 1.5-car garage.
We're going to do the scientific measurements.
And Tony recommended this. This is a rec.
I did.
I'm at the bottom of the caliper here and here. Okay. I'm going to try not to move my arms. Remember, scientific method. And then we're going to go here. Well, I had to flip the arms around. That's okay. Here and here. You be the judge.
I have a 32-ounce Yeti.
Okay.
Won't fit. So
I have the same problem with my coffee mug. You have to shove it.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not shoving it. and you can open it one of three ways. You can kind of turn the bottom here. So it'll click.
Oh, I see it. Okay.
As you press it, it closes in on it.
So you get a secure fit every time.
I like to protect myself. My daughter actually works at a horse ranch. So when she comes home, she's covered in mud. So I want to protect my ocean. So I had a towel down before. I said, you can't put anything in here until I get something. I went out and thanks to Matt at
Ocean Views, I think.
Views. Yeah. So thank you, Matt. Liner X is who this brand is. And for me, I decided to go with everything. What's not in yet is the back seat covers.
Okay, so right here.
So correct.
If we look in here,
So basically, this is just like the regular floor mats in the sense that it's just one piece, right?
okay, that's really nice.
And then, of course, you know, the ones up front, this is the passenger side.
So this reminds me a lot of for comparison, like a WeatherTech, a real sturdy feel to it.
Yeah. What's interesting is if you look back here, which I didn't notice, was this stuff doesn't slide.
Oh, wow. It's got some grip to it, too.
It's got a little bit of grip.
Yeah, it does. It is textured as well, so we can get that texture.
This is really cool.
And it looks like you've got a really good sidewall coverage here. So if you look really closely at this is 3D printed. Talk to me about that. That's not factory equipment.
That is not factory equipment. So another shout out to Matt from Ocean Views. I ordered this from York. Very reasonable, but it didn't have this cord on there originally. I got an email from York saying that testing was being done, and I got it in within a week or so.
It's a great accessory. And then show me your mud flap.
Yes. So now it's not there anymore because I had to rip it off. It's like, something's wrong with the car. It started making a noise. So I said to my daughter, it was a noise, which I had seen in other videos. So we eventually pulled that off.
So I made it home. Let's kind of look at the efficiency. The whole trip, I did 623.7 miles. Since charging in Carlisle was about 117.4 miles. It looks like I'm getting roughly 2
miles per kilowatt hour.
Let me explain. The ocean reports its energy data in kilowatt hours per mile, which can be difficult to decode and understand. The easiest way to compute efficiency across vehicles is in miles per kilowatt hour, and in order to calculate that from kilowatt hours per mile, you would do 1 over the kilowatt hours per mile. At 0.5 kilowatt hours per mile, 1 over 0.5 is 2, so Tony was correct. For a benchmark, the lifetime efficiency on my Model Y is 261 watt hours per mile, which of course also has to be converted by taking 1,000 divided by 261, which is 3.83 miles per kilowatt hour.
Overall, I've done probably 2.2 if we look at the 0.7 down there. Not too bad, considering it was rainy. Most of the ride was 39 and 42 degrees.
If you guys want to help out the channel and show Tony some appreciation for all the things he did to put this video together, how about a thank you, Tony, down in the comments below. Join Patreon and become a YouTube member for early access to upcoming videos. Subscribe for more, and we'll see ya on the next one.
Hey! Smash the like button!
Thank you.